2 minutes, everybody relax.
When you were 12 and you were at a family friend's house, you started talking about all your teachers, and that was one of the experiences that
I know I was funny. Also, I was on a fishing trip with my father and 3 other doctors. That I remember. I was about 8 years old. And I remember being very funny and making them laugh. And I knew I had a power. I had something that I could make adults laugh with me, not at me. And I think this is wonderful. And it really was wonderful. I mean, it's, well, obviously, it's okay.
How did your upbringing affect who you are as a comedian?
Well, they always say Jews, Jewish humor, Jewish humor. But if you really look, many of the great comics are Christian. Think about it. Certainly on television. Jay Leno, Jon Stewart, maybe Jon Stewart, but Letterman, and so they say it's all that. I'm not making a joke now. Exactly. Okay. All right. So I think just that I know well it's a comedian's house. Let me let them in. Okay, that's it. Come on. She's trying to do her work. Come on. That's it. Here we go. Come. Right now. Am I kidding you? $600 later. Come on, follow me. Yeah, I think so. A little too noisy. Okay, he can do whatever he wants. Okay. Thank you. What do you ask? My background. I don't know. I think everything in my household was handled with humor. So it was just, and Jews, we laugh at everything. I know if I was in Auschwitz, I swear to you, I would have been making jokes all the way into the ovens, because that's the way I am. So I just think it's inherent.
When you brought back onto the scene, you were considered like a major departure from Phyllis Diller, who was the reigning comedian.
Yeah.
And your comedy was just as self-deprecating as Diller's, but one critic wrote that yours was less persuasive since you were attractive.
Oh.
So,
who was that critic?
How important do you feel your appearance is in relation to comedy?
I think you have to have, and it's not even appearance. You have to be a good comedian. You have to have a likability. So there's got to be something about your appearance that isn't, it isn't threatening to anybody, and isn't that I'm better than you, or I can take your man. You've always got to be, they feel comfortable with you, and that's very important, whatever your appearance looks like. So that was, and I have that on stage, and nobody's ever worried about me when I come on stage. They know I'm not going to hurt them, if that makes sense, or take away their man, or be a real mean bitch. And I think that's, if you look at all comics and comedians, they all have it. There's a man now called Russell Brand who's having a very hard time with it, and deserves to, because there's such an arrogance, and it's very off-putting when he walks on stage, and the audiences are feeling it. He thought he was going to come over here and conquer America, and he didn't.
And his hair.
And everything about him is just so, I'm right, and here I am. Well, that's not a comedian. Comedian is, here I am. It's a big difference.
I read that you performed at Second City in Chicago and New York. How do you feel that experience solidified your comedic work, and how does improv differ from stand-up to you?
It doesn't. Second City changed my life totally, because I found, up until Second City, I was buying my material. I never had any faith that I could write what I thought was funny. They would think was funny. And Second City, you realized that what you thought was funny, and they're laughing too. And also to go with your first instinct and to say what first comes into your head. And Second City, absolutely, I still work that way. All my sets, all my everything, I absolutely work in the moment. And so I never really know what's going to happen on stage. And that keeps them on their toes and me on my toes. So God bless everyone that wants to be a comic should go through. And think of all the great comics. All the Saturday Night Live people.
Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch.
And going back to, again, with me, the generation before, the John Belushis and the Gilda Radners, all out of Second City.
So you've gone by several names in the business. I read that you went by Pepper January,
yes.
And then that you took the name Rivers after your agent.
Yeah.
How important is a good name?
Not at all. Absolutely not at all. And I knew that. I used to have friends that would spend months, they wouldn't get their pictures, their 8x10s, because they didn't know what their name was going to be. If you're good, they're going to remember your name, and if you're terrible, they're not going to remember your name. And I knew that. That's why I took the name. My agent said, you can't be Joan Malinsky, which is who I was. And so I said, all right, I'll be Joan Rivers, because his name was Tony Rivers. And it was that simple. It wasn't that I spent months thinking, how will that look, It doesn't matter, truly doesn't matter. A name means nothing. Now, Whoopi Goldberg was very smart. Her name, a black woman named Whoopi Goldberg, they did remember that. So that worked.
I think she was Karen Johnson.
Original, that was her real name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she actually took Goldberg because somewhere distant she has Jewish relatives.
Maybe, but also I have a feeling she may have done it because it's hilarious. See, in those days, see a black woman come out with dreadlocks and be named Goldberg. So I have a feeling that's a history that's been a little revised. I've never seen her with a Jewish relative, let's put it that, but she's a friend.
Since you have experience with both late night television and daytime, do you feel that late night is predominantly dominated by men and that daytime is more of a women's realm?
It's just turned into that. I think that it's not about men and women, it's about power. And I don't know, it certainly looks that way now. But that's because nobody really strong has come up with the late night shows since me. The girl on E is not very good, whatever her name is.
Chelsea Handler.
She's not very good. She's sleeping with the president of the network. We all know why Chelsea's what Chelsea is. I think a very strong woman could come along and have a great show.
Do you consider your work feminist?
Who cares? I was always too busy to worry about, looking back, I realized I was a woman in a man's field. But when it was happening, I was so, you just do it. You know what I'm saying? Feminism is, we really screwed ourselves a while, the feminist comedians, because they didn't want to come out and talk about, I want to be pretty, or I'd still like to get married, or I had a bad date. And there was a period there from about 75 to 85 when no new women comedians came up. And I may be giving you the wrong years, because they were saying stupid things. Like they wouldn't talk about, everybody's the same. Let me just tell you, so I used to play the Catskills, and there were Jewish clubs, and there were Italian clubs, and there were Irish clubs. And in a Jewish club, I'd go, well, Jewish mothers, and then you do Jewish mother jokes. I'd go to the Irish thing, I'd go, Irish mothers. And they'd go, yeah. And then you go, people are so similar. You really get under it. So that's why, with feminism and everything, if we're going back to that question, which I think I may have jumped, but don't worry about it. We all feel the same when we leave. You don't have to be for women's rights. And if a woman is funny, and I'm sure you've read this because you've done your homework, if Hitler came back and was funny, David Letterman would say there's a whole new side to this man.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. If this dog had 12 minutes, he'd be a star. Yeah.
Sexuality is often a common theme for female comedians.
And male too.
But do you think that there's a common claim that women or that you've made about sexuality?
I don't know. I never analyze. No. All I do is I bitch about everything. When my life is going well, my act is boring. So when terrible things happen, I go, oh, this will be good on stage. Thank God Michelle Obama wore that terrible dress at the inauguration. Oh, thank you, God. Thank you for putting her in that horrible dress.
Do you feel your approach to comedy is different than a male counterpart?
I don't think about it. I know you're analyzing everything. I don't know. Woody Allen, who's a friend of mine, I once said to him one night, we were sitting around, I said, all right, what makes something funny? And he said, who cares? If they laugh, get on your knees and say, thank you, God, and go to the next joke.
I read that when you performed at the duplex that you were compared often as the female Woody Allen.
Yeah, because we were starting at the same time.
And then you had a lot of the same mannerisms.
Well, that's because we were both New York and Jewish, so they thought we had the same mannerisms. You know what I mean? But it was wonderful because Woody was ahead of me, and so by saying she's the female Woody Allen, it was great. The duplex filled up the next day. You know, so many little people there. Oh, okay. But he's so smart. But I love that he doesn't analyze. Richard Pryor didn't analyze. I'm just thinking of the great ones. George Carlin, on the other hand, every word was picked. You know, so everyone works so differently.
What is your process when you write your own material?
Usually, I do it orally for the most part. And that's why, to this day, I carry a tape recorder. Wherever I go, my act is audio taped. Because what comes out first is funny. I almost don't know what I'm going to say when I go on stage. You know, is that, when you say, what's the question? How do you...
Well, what's your process when you write your comedy?
There is no process. I know if I'm angry about something, I'll walk on stage and talk about it. And then, how technical do you want to get? Then I pull it off. I listen to what I said, which came out right the first time. I pull it off, and I then try to embroider it and make it better, and then I'll say it again on stage. And it takes, to get little pieces, it takes weeks to get said. It really holds. Weeks.
In my class, we studied comedic archetypes and the 5 comedic postures of the kid, the bawd, the bitch, the whiner, and the reporter. And we classified you as being a whiner and bitch.
Yeah, whining bitch.
Do you agree with that?
Totally. Yes, whining bitch, no question about it. And I'm furious, and fury. I ride on fury. I am very angry. And I think what got me in the beginning was I represented a lot of angry ladies. I represented a lot of girls that went to college and then said, what's wrong? Why isn't this working out the way it's supposed to work out? And so my act is just one screaming rage now. Whining rage.
Your comedy has sometimes been described as aggressive. And
yes.
in the yes. Bravo special, you mentioned that the only thing that was off limits in your comedy was your grandson.
And then I do a joke about it.
That's true. Are there any other subjects that you never joke about? Or is there anything off limits to you?
No. If I, again, here we go again. I don't know. I figure if I can say it, it's not off limits. Does that, and I don't know what I'm going to say. I talk about 9/11 a lot, and they still don't want to talk about it.
You talk about the Holocaust?
I talk about if Hitler came over. I say now my act is so bad. A lot of Jews get very upset. I say that when I was a little girl, I wrote him a letter, dear Mr. Hitler, I hope you don't come to this country, but if you do, because I took away, I hate my relatives, there is a family living in Newark, New Jersey. I give them my cousin's address. And the audience goes into shock. Yeah, I know. No, I think, but you got to remember, what I use comedy for a lot, it's a wonderful way to remind people of things that really upset you. You know, and if you could talk about Anne Frank, who I say would have sold more books if she had had a nose job. I truly believe it. Because who would you? Anne Frank, my story, Anne Frank, my story, you're part of. So, and people get so upset, the audience. It really, it takes a breath. But I think comedy should be used to make something that's almost bearable and silly, because if it's silly, you can deal with it. And that's really what I use the Holocaust about, a lot.
Well, I think going off of that point, sometimes in that special you get some mixed reactions, and you imitate them, and you say, oh, you've gone too far, Miss Rivers.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you have gone too far?
Very seldom. What I do let them know, what I do let them know